It really is easier than ever to start making money online, but there are so many different ways to do it, and we're living in what I'm calling the age of the platform. The good news is because there are so many platforms to choose from, that's what's making it so easy to get started. But there are some challenges, there are some unique benefits to each of these platforms, and there are some expectations we have to set before we get started. Which platform's right for you? How much money can you make and how quickly? We're going to cover all of that in this series. This is the first video in a series we're calling Platforms. I'm William Collier from Pick Branding and Pick Creative here in Bend, Oregon. Let's get into it. All right, guys, just a quick note before we jump into this content. Like always, please smash that like button, that subscribe button. If you want more content like this, we're going to be coming out with this stuff regularly, and it's going to help you to get started in your entrepreneurial journey. You'd be surprised how easy it can be. And we're going to talk about today sort of a broad overview of all of these platforms, all of these ways to get going. But before we do any of that, we kind of have to immediately start by talking about how you're actually going to market yourself. It's kind of impossible to talk about making money online without talking about some sort of marketing strategy. So before we get into the platforms and what all of them do, let's just talk about what you have to do in the first place to get your name out there and to get your voice heard. There are two main kinds of traffic on the internet, and those are organic and paid. That's the way traffic really flows through the internet, right? Organic comes from what you might call search engine optimization or engaging content on free marketing channels like social media platforms. Paid is more in the advertising space, which are really dominated by Meta and Google. So if you're going to be pushing traffic, those are your two choices. And the way that we do that, obviously paid is going to create a faster result for you. You're going to be able to actually create traffic out of thin air by putting dollars into it. But organic actually has much more lasting and powerful results. It just takes a longer time to get that going. Either way you choose to go, it's important that you walk in with a strategy. And that's something we're going to talk about in this series. But we have to lay the groundwork first of understanding how money is actually made online in the first place. And that's definitely through marketing and through traffic. There are two main kinds of content when we talk about actually getting your face or your name or your content out there for free content marketing or even for paid marketing. And those are short form and long form. Short form content, the leading platforms for this are definitely, of course, Instagram, TikTok, even Facebook, and X, formerly Twitter. These are sort of the shorter attention span ways to grab views, grab attention, jump in someone's feed, and say some quick things. There's good news and bad news to this, right? There's that short attention span, which means you need to grab attention fast. And a little quick tip for you, definitely make sure that the very start of your content has something engaging and eye-catching at the very beginning, or you're going to lose views faster. But there's also the fact that it takes less time to create this content. You can pop a camera in front of your face and record whatever's on your mind at the moment and get it out there. You don't have to sit around and script everything, though scripting can be really useful and helpful. And then when it comes to long form content, we've got podcasts, Substack, and of course, YouTube, what we're on right now. Longer form content is really good for people who are looking to educate themselves, right? This is usually in the form of conversation or in the form of interviews or in the form of tutorials like the one you're watching right now. The good news for longer form content is you are more likely to get a more engaged end user who is more invested in your content and in your brand. But the drawback is it takes longer to create this content, and it makes very good sense to script the content too. So there's obviously the process of shooting the video, then there's the process of editing the video, then there's a process of making a thumbnail that's eye-catching. All these things take a little bit longer than they do in short form content. When we're talking about podcasts, a little bit easier and quicker than YouTube, right? Or some sort of long form video content, but you still have to edit. You still have to plan. You still have to make sure that you bring in a guest and that you interview, because none of us like listening to one talking head for an entire hour, 2 hours, however long we choose to sit down and listen to this podcast, right? It's much more interesting to hear two tones of voice, two perspectives, and the back and forth conversation that happens there. So that side of things, the kind of clerical work of making sure that you're planning and that you have guests lined up and that you have a schedule, does also take its own form of work, its own long process. So long form, longer process. Short form, shorter process. Both of them require planning. Both of them require a lot of thinking and a lot of strategy, but longer form is going to just take more of your time just by the pure fact that it's longer. But I want to talk to you about Substack. What's fascinating about Substack is think about the short form content we mentioned a while ago, right? You got Instagram, which is pretty much dominated by stories and reels and definitely posts, but very visual, right? TikTok, kind of the same way, mostly videos, mostly selfie videos. X is more short written content and links to articles, retweets, things like that. Substack is like a longer form marriage of all of these things. And I'd like to spend a second talking about this because Substack is going to give you the ability not only to write longer form content, but to record podcasts, to post those on their platform, and also to post video, longer form video. So this is an all-in-one place where you can do all of those things. The only catch is most of it is contained within the Substack sphere, with the exception of podcasts. Podcasts that are published on Substack will automatically post to Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts with just a little bit of back-end work on your side. But if you're a writer and you like to get your ideas expressed in writing, Substack could make a lot of sense. There's also transcripts that Substack will automatically generate from your podcast episodes that can then also become written posts or notes. So Substack is very powerful in that way, and it also allows you to charge subscriptions, and it's free for you to use. The way Substack's model is set up is you get on there, you make your content, and then if it's engaging enough and you can get a large enough following to where there's a premium level of content that you make, you can charge subscriptions to get people inside. If you want to, you can charge for the entire subscription. You don't have to offer a free version, but any marketer is going to tell you that offering a free version is a great idea because you're going to be able to gauge someone's interest and get someone in the door who's already interested in your content and then entice them to level up their game. The more content you put out and the more engaging that it is. So that brings us to our next point, which is how do we make money online? There are a lot of different ways to do this and a lot of basics that people think about, which brings us to our last item on this agenda. You had short form content and long form content. Then you've got affiliate marketing. This is a piece that we need to talk about. Affiliates are programs where you and your following and your web traffic lead to links that are tracked back to you and provide you with commission for sales. There are two really heavy hitters in this space, and you probably already know their names. One of them is Amazon. The other one is Shopify. Now I'm going to shoot straight with you. I'm not a huge fan of Amazon. Okay? I don't really like what they're doing to the planet. I don't really like how they're doing their commerce. I don't like how they rip off smaller makers and get them hung up in court claims and all that. I'm not a big fan. I would prefer Shopify for you if you're thinking about which affiliate program to join. Now, obviously, Amazon makes it all really easy and lobs it over the plate because those products are cheap and there's so many of them available. They just make the onboarding process and the process of linking super duper easy. However, if you get into Shopify, you're going to be able to target worthy makers, worthy products that are more conscious. You're going to be supporting smaller businesses, and it's a much more sustainable and ethical effort in that way. So I would recommend Shopify to you if you're thinking about getting into an affiliate program. But all of this comes back to the marketing piece and your actual presence online. How do we make money from these platforms? Well, we talked already about Substack and how they offer a subscription model. YouTube, which we're on right now, does also offer a subscription model. You can actually create content that's not available on your channel except to subscribers. And if that's alluring to you, or if you have a plan in mind, a strategy for how you could release different kinds of content in that way, that might make a lot of sense to you. And the same is true of podcasts. Apple and Substack both offer the way for you to hide podcast content or special podcast content behind a paywall. But when it comes to the short form stuff, it's a little more difficult in that way. Right? You can still kind of do the affiliate thing and link back to different products through, say, a link tree that's in your bio. But unless you're collaborating directly with a business page that has shop now buttons, right? Have you ever seen this when you're scrolling through Instagram or through TikTok and you'll see a link at the bottom of someone's post that takes them through to a store where they can shop? Unless that is your plan, then it's going to all come back to how you're linking and how you're sending people to traffic, which comes to landing pages on your website, and that's a whole other can of worms to get into, so we can get into that in future videos. There are a lot of people having a lot of success on TikTok Shop. If you've heard of this before, people will gather a following and build up and then start promoting products and can make a significant income from that. But if I'm being honest with you, In all of these spheres we've talked about, those are sort of the classic, well-worn pathways of making money online. If you really want to control your own destiny, it makes a little better sense for you to have a product or a service that you offer and for you to promote it on these channels, and then to be able to effectively test what kind of marketing is working, what sort of landing pages are working, and what sort of products and services are really hitting with end users and really are attractive to them. That's the end game, right? That would be the most lucrative way for you to make money online. But if you're looking for quick ways to get started, those well-worn channels are sort of the fastest, especially affiliate programs. But there's still the question of how you get a following going in the first place and how you're going to market yourself, and we will cover that in future videos as well. All right, guys, that's it for this one. We just wanted to give you an overview of what these platforms are, what they do, which one might be right for you. And in future videos, we're going to drill down into each one of them specifically and talk about strategies that are going to work for those platforms. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Onward and upward.